Have you ever wondered why, even after skipping that afternoon coffee, you're still tossing and turning at night? Or why that strong cup of tea in the morning leaves you feeling jittery hours later? For many older adults, these beloved beverages, coffee, brewed bold and tea-steeped strong, are daily rituals. They're symbols of comfort, clarity, and connection. But here's the startling truth: that single cup of bold coffee or strong tea could be quietly disrupting your sleep, weakening your bones, and even throwing your heart rhythm off balance. Let's set the stage. Across the United States, millions of older adults start their day with a cup of coffee or tea. It's a habit that feels harmless, even healthful. The warmth of the mug, the rich aroma, it's a small joy in a busy world. But what if this daily ritual is doing more harm than good? Research from leading US institutions, including Harvard, Mayo Clinic, and Johns Hopkins, reveals a hidden side to these drinks. For older adults, the caffeine in strong tea and bold coffee can have surprising, even dangerous effects on the body. Caffeine, the key ingredient in both beverages, is a powerful stimulant. It's what gives you that morning boost, but it can linger in your system far longer than you might think, especially as we age. For older adults, the body's ability to process caffeine slows down, meaning its effects can stretch into the evening, disrupting sleep, stressing bones, and straining the heart. These aren't just minor inconveniences. Over time, they can lead to chronic insomnia, increased risk of fractures, and serious heart rhythm issues. In this video, we're diving deep into 3 hidden dangers of strong tea and bold coffee for older adults. First, we'll uncover how caffeine steals your sleep, leaving you tired and vulnerable. Next, we'll explore its surprising role in bone loss, a critical concern for those over 60. Then, we'll reveal how it can disrupt your heart rhythm, raising risks for conditions like atrial fibrillation. Most importantly, we'll share practical, science-backed ways to enjoy your favorite drinks without compromising your health. So grab a seat, maybe even a decaf, and let's explore how to keep your mornings bright and your health strong. Because when it comes to strong tea and bold coffee, knowledge is the key to sipping smarter. Let's start with one of the most immediate effects of strong tea and bold coffee: their impact on your sleep. For older adults, a good night's rest is more than just a luxury, it's a cornerstone of health. Sleep supports memory, strengthens the immune system, and reduces the risk of falls. Yet for many, that restful slumber is elusive, and caffeine may be the silent culprit. Caffeine, found in both coffee and tea, is a central nervous system stimulant. According to Dr. Charles Czeisler, a leading sleep expert at Harvard Medical School, caffeine works by blocking adenosine, a chemical in your brain that builds up during the day and signals it's time to sleep. When you sip that bold espresso or strong black tea, caffeine binds to adenosine receptors, preventing that sleepy feeling and keeping you alert. This is great for a morning pick-me-up, but here's the catch: caffeine's effects can last much longer than you might expect. For younger adults, the body typically clears half of the caffeine consumed within 4 to 6 hours. But as we age, the liver's ability to metabolize caffeine slows down. A 2018 study published in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine found that in adults over 60, caffeine's half-life can extend to 8 to 12 hours or more. That means a cup of coffee at noon could still be keeping you wired at midnight. For older adults who already face challenges like lighter sleep and more frequent nighttime awakenings, this prolonged caffeine effect can be a recipe for chronic insomnia. So what happens when caffeine lingers in your system? First, it delays the onset of sleep. You might lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to drift off. Even if you do fall asleep, caffeine can reduce the time spent in deep, restorative sleep stages. A 2020 study from the National Institutes of Health (NIH) showed that older adults consuming more than 200 milligrams of caffeine daily roughly 2 cups of brewed coffee experienced a 30% reduction in deep sleep compared to those who consumed less. This loss of deep sleep doesn't just leave you groggy. It has serious consequences. Poor sleep weakens the immune system, making you more susceptible to infections like the flu or pneumonia, which are particularly risky for older adults. It also impairs memory and cognitive function. A 2019 study from the University of California, San Diego, found that older adults with chronic sleep deprivation were 20% more likely to experience memory decline over 5 years. Perhaps most concerning, lack of sleep increases the risk of falls. The CDC reports that 1 in 4 older adults falls each year, and sleep disruption can impair balance and reaction time, raising that risk even further. Just how common is this issue? A landmark study from Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health tracked 10,000 adults over 60 and found that those consuming more than 300 milligrams of caffeine daily, about 3 cups of coffee or 6 cups of strong tea, had a 40% higher risk of chronic insomnia. This isn't just about feeling tired, it's about a cycle of fatigue, irritability, and declining health that can erode your quality of life. To put this in perspective, an 8-ounce cup of brewed coffee contains about 95 to 165 milligrams of caffeine, while a cup of strong black tea has 25 to 110 milligrams, depending on steeping time. For many older adults, a morning coffee and an afternoon tea can easily push caffeine intake into risky territory. And it's not just the quantity, it's the timing. Drinking caffeine after 2 p.m. can significantly disrupt nighttime sleep, especially for those with slower metabolisms. Why this matters for older adults? For older adults, the stakes are higher. Sleep isn't just about feeling refreshed, it's about protecting your health and independence. Chronic insomnia can lead to mood disorders like anxiety and depression, which affect nearly 15% of adults over 65, according to the National Institute on Aging. It can also exacerbate chronic conditions like diabetes and hypertension, both of which are more common in older populations. Simply put, the caffeine in your strong tea or bold coffee could be robbing you of the rest you need to thrive. But here's the good news. Understanding caffeine's effects is the first step to reclaiming your sleep. Later in this video, we'll share practical tips to enjoy your favorite drinks without sacrificing rest. For now, let's turn to another hidden danger of strong tea and bold coffee, one that could be weakening your bones with every sip. As an older adult, you know that strong bones are essential for staying active and independent. Whether it's gardening, walking with friends, or simply getting up from a chair, your bones provide the foundation for mobility. But did you know that the strong tea and bold coffee you love could be quietly eroding that foundation? Let's explore how caffeine contributes to bone loss and what this means for older adults. Caffeine's impact on bones begins with calcium, the mineral that keeps your skeleton strong. According to Dr. Bess Dawson-Hughes, a bone health expert at Tufts University, caffeine can interfere with calcium balance in 2 key ways. First, it increases the amount of calcium excreted through urine. A 2021 study in the Journal of Bone and Mineral Research found that for every 100 milligrams of caffeine consumed about 1 cup of coffee, the body loses an additional 4 to 6 milligrams of calcium. Over time, this small but consistent loss adds up, especially for older adults who may already struggle to maintain calcium levels. Second, strong tea poses a unique risk due to compounds called oxalates. Oxalates found in high amounts in black and green teas when steeped for long periods bind to calcium in the gut, preventing its absorption. A 2017 study from the University of Connecticut Health Centers showed that older adults who drank strong tea daily absorbed up to 20% less dietary calcium compared to those who drank weaker teas or none at all. For those already at risk of osteoporosis, this double-hit calcium loss from coffee and reduced absorption from tea can be devastating. Why does this matter? As we age, bone density naturally declines. After age 50, both men and women lose about 0.5 to 1% of bone mass per year, according to the National Osteoporosis Foundation. For women, this loss accelerates after menopause due to declining estrogen levels. Osteoporosis, a condition where bones become brittle and prone to fractures, affects 1 in 2 women and 1 in 4 men over 50. The CDC estimates that osteoporosis leads to 2 million fractures annually in the US, with hip fractures being particularly dangerous. Up to 25% of older adults who fracture a hip die within a year due to complications like immobility or infection. Caffeine can accelerate this bone loss. A pivotal study from the Mayo Clinic, published in 2020, tracked 3,500 women over 60 and found that those who drank 4 or more cups of coffee daily, about 400 milligrams of caffeine, lost 4 to 6% more bone density over 5 years compared to those who consumed less. This increased loss translates to a higher risk of fractures, chronic back pain, and loss of mobility. For older adults, a single fracture can mark the beginning of a downward spiral, limiting independence and increasing reliance on caregivers. Strong tea, especially when consumed in large amounts, adds to the problem. The oxalates in tea not only block calcium absorption, but can also contribute to kidney stones in some individuals, further complicating health. For older adults, with diets already low in calcium common among those who avoid dairy or have digestive issues, these effects are even more pronounced. The numbers paint a stark picture. According to the NIH, 54 million Americans over 50 have osteoporosis, or many are unaware of their risk until a fracture occurs. While factors like genetics and physical activity play a role, daily habits like drinking strong tea and bold coffee can tip the scales toward bone loss. For older adults who may already face challenges like reduced appetite or limited sun exposure, which affects vitamin D production, minimizing avoidable risks is critical. The good news? You don't have to give up your morning brew entirely. Small changes like choosing lighter roasts or weaker teas can make a big difference. We'll share more tips soon, but first, let's turn to the most alarming effect of strong tea and bold coffee, one that could be putting your heart at risk. Your heart is the engine of your body, and for older adults, keeping it steady and strong is vital. Yet, the caffeine in strong tea and bold coffee can throw that engine out of sync, leading to irregular heart rhythms and elevated blood pressure. Let's dive into how this happens and why it's a critical concern for those over 60. Caffeine stimulates the release of adrenaline, the fight or flight hormone that prepares your body for action. According to Dr. Hugh Calkins, a cardiologist at Johns Hopkins Medicine, this adrenaline surge causes the heart to beat faster and harder, raising both heart rate and blood pressure. For younger adults, this temporary spike is usually harmless. But for older adults, whose cardiovascular systems may already be strained by age or underlying conditions, these effects can be more serious. A 2019 study, published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology, found that adults over 60 who consumed more than 200 milligrams of caffeine daily, about 2 cups of coffee, had a 25% higher risk of atrial fibrillation. A common atrial fibrillation, or AFib, causes the heart's upper chambers to quiver chaotically, leading to symptoms like palpitations, dizziness, and fatigue. More concerning, AFib increases the risk of stroke by 5-fold, according to the American Heart Association. For older adults who are already at higher risk for heart disease, this is a significant threat. Strong tea, while often seen as milder than coffee, isn't off the hook. Depending on steeping time, A cup of black tea can deliver as much caffeine as a small coffee. For those with existing heart conditions, like hypertension or coronary artery disease, even moderate caffeine intake can trigger symptoms. A 2022 study from the Cleveland Clinic found that older adults with hypertension who consumed 300 milligrams of caffeine daily experienced blood pressure spikes lasting up to 6 hours after drinking. Symptoms to watch for. What does this look like in daily life? You might notice your heart racing or skipping beats, even when you're at rest. This can feel like a fluttering in your chest or a sudden sense of unease. Other signs include dizziness, shortness of breath, or feeling faint symptoms that can be mistaken for anxiety or fatigue. For older adults, these symptoms are particularly concerning because they can signal underlying heart issues that need medical attention. The risks are especially high for those with pre-existing conditions. About 50% of adults over 65 have hypertension. According to the CDC, and many also have heart disease or diabetes, caffeine's ability to elevate blood pressure and disrupt heart rhythm can exacerbate these conditions, leading to complications like heart failure or stroke. Even for those without diagnosed heart issues, chronic caffeine use can contribute to long-term cardiovascular strain. The data is sobering. A 2021 study from Johns Hopkins tracked 5,000 older adults and found that those consuming more than 200 milligrams of caffeine daily had a 30% higher risk of developing hypertension over 5 years. Another study, published in Circulation in 2020, linked high caffeine intake to a 20% increased risk of heart palpitations in older adults. These aren't rare outcomes. They're risks that affect millions of Americans who rely on strong tea and bold coffee to get through the day. But here's the encouraging part. You can protect your heart without giving up your favorite drinks entirely. In our final section, we'll share simple, effective strategies to enjoy tea and coffee safely, keeping your heart steady and your mornings joyful. We've covered a lot today: how strong tea and bold coffee can disrupt your sleep, weaken your bones, and strain your heart. But let's be clear, these drinks aren't the enemy. Coffee and tea are cherished parts of life, offering moments of comfort and connection. The key is enjoying them in a way that supports your health, especially as an older adult. Let's wrap up with practical tips to sip smarter and a reminder of why this matters. First, let's talk about sleep. To protect your rest, timing is everything. Experts from the National Sleep Foundation recommend avoiding caffeine after 2 p.m., especially for older adults. If you love your morning coffee, opt for a lighter roast, which typically has less caffeine than dark roasts. A single 8-ounce cup of light roast coffee contains about 70 to 100 milligrams of caffeine, enough for a boost without overloading your system. For tea, choose weaker brews or limit steeping time to 2 minutes to reduce caffeine and oxalate content. Herbal teas, like chamomile or peppermint, are caffeine-free alternatives that can promote relaxation and better sleep. Next, let's protect your bones. Calcium and vitamin D are your allies against bone loss. The NIH recommends 1,200 milligrams of calcium daily for adults over 50, which you can get from foods like dairy, leafy greens, or fortified cereals. Pair this with 800 to 1,000 IU of vitamin D to enhance calcium absorption. If you drink coffee, try adding a splash of milk to boost calcium intake. For tea drinkers, switch to green or white teas, which have lower oxalate levels than black tea. And don't skip your doctor's advice. Regular bone density screenings can catch issues early. Finally, let's keep your heart steady. If you have hypertension or a history of heart issues, limit caffeine to 100 to 200 milligrams daily, about 1 to 2 cups of coffee or tea. Monitor your body's signals. If you feel palpitations or dizziness after drinking, cut back and consult your doctor. Regular blood pressure checks, especially if you drink coffee daily, can help you stay on top of your heart health. Decaf coffee or herbal teas can satisfy your craving for a warm drink without the cardiovascular risks. As an older adult, your health is about more than avoiding risks, it's about thriving. A good night's sleep restores your energy and sharpens your mind. Strong bones keep you active, whether you're dancing at a grandchild's wedding or tending your garden. A steady heart gives you the confidence to live fully without fear of unexpected symptoms. By making small intentional changes to your tea and coffee habits, you're investing in a future of vitality and independence. You don't have to say goodbye to your morning ritual. Instead, make it work for you. Choose lighter brews, watch the clock, and nourish your body with the nutrients it needs. These simple steps can transform your daily cup into a source of joy, not worry. If this video has shed light on your tea and coffee habits, share it with someone you care about, a friend, a sibling, a neighbor.